In this video, what we want to do, we want to keep building our app, and we want to do so by adding these two cards, okay? And as you can see, these two cards are pretty similar, okay? The only difference here is on this background and also this on title, okay? Because here we have this on background of a motorcycle, but here we have a car as a background, and here the title is different, okay? So what we want to do, we want to create a card, okay? And in that card we can change or adapt the background and this title, okay? So with that said, what we can do, we can put this guy here, okay? And we can come back to our code. And actually, before jumping into the subject of this video, what we can do, we can improve our app, okay? Because as we said in the previous video, this gap is too big. So what we want to do, we want to reduce this gap, okay? And we also want to align this, okay? Because as you can see on the finished app, these two are aligned, okay? So how can we do this? How can we accomplish this? Well, the first thing we want to do on this frame, for this rounded rectangle on this frame, instead of dividing this by 1.3, we can divide this by 1.17, okay? And of course, off camera, I did a lot of testing in order to find the right value, okay? And now the next thing we want to do here on this on VStack, if we go back on this code, what we want to do, we want to actually get inside this H stack, because remember this H stack has this card and this two, okay? And what we want to do, we want to come on this V stack, okay? And what we can do, we can add a padding. So let's add a padding. It's gonna to be an horizontal padding. And now I think we can actually jump into the subject of this video, okay? So as we said, we want to add these two cards, okay? But where should we add these two cards? Well, let's think about it. So yeah, what we have this H stack, okay? And this H stack has these these three elements, okay? But what we are gonna to do, we actually want a V stack, okay? So we want a V stack, and inside the V stack, we want this H stack, and we want these two cards, okay? So yeah, on this overlay, what we can do, we can actually create a new vista, and inside this vista, what we can do, we can cut this H stack. So let's cut this and put it inside a vista. And normally everything is supposed to look the same, and as you can see, everything is looking fine. And now what we want to do, we want to add our cards, okay? So here, down here, we want to add our first card and then the second one. Okay, perfect. And as we said before, here we don't want to duplicate these two cards, okay? We don't want to duplicate the code. So what we will do, we will create a new view, okay? So what we can do down here, what we want to do, we want to create a new script, and we will simply call it card view, okay? And of course here you can give a better name, okay, if you want, but for us we simply call it card view, okay? And now inside this card view we want to build a view, okay? But the first thing we want to do, in order to show this card view inside a preview, the first thing we want to do here, instead of hello world, what we can do, we can simply add a text. And now inside this text, what we want to do, we can say card view. And now what we want to do, we want to copy this card view and paste it here, so that we can actually have a preview, okay? And as you can see, we have this card view, okay? And of course here we don't want this text, okay? So what we can do, we can remove this, and now we can actually start working on this view, okay? And as you can see, this view has as a background an image, okay? So we are going to need these two images, okay? And if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to have access to these two images, what you can do, you can simply check the link in the description, okay? Because this video is just a glimpse of my paid course, and if you want to have access to the full course, you can simply check the link in the description, okay? And if you're watching the pro version of this course, what you can simply do, you can simply check the starter project, okay? And inside this starter project, I want you to go and copy the image. We have an image named motorcycle, and we also have an image named car. Okay, so what you can do, you can simply drag and drop. So let's start with car. So we simply drag and drop it inside a project. Okay, and yeah, we'll rename this to car, and we want to do the same thing for the motorcycle. So go to the starter project and simply drag and drop this image. Okay, and as you can see, we have our two images. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back to our home view, and inside this body, what we want to do, we want to create a button. Okay, and we want to create a button simply because this is clickable. Okay, so yeah, we create a button, and yeah, for now, for the action, we will leave it empty. And for the label, what we want to do, we want to create an image. And for the name of our image, let's start with this motorcycle image first. Okay, so we can simply come here and copy this and go back to our home view and simply paste it here. Okay, and normally inside the preview, we are supposed to see our motorcycle. Okay, and as you can see, we have a motorcycle. Okay, even though we are not able to really see it properly. Okay, let's fix this. So yeah, for this image, what we want to do, we want to make it resizable, and you also want to add an expert radius, and we want it to be filled, and we also want to set the frame. So yeah, that frame, and yeah, we want a height of 200. Okay, perfect. And as you can see, now we can get a better view of our image. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do, we want to work on this rounded rectangle. Okay, on this rounded border. So what we can do, we can come here and add this clip shape, and we want our clip shape to be a rounded rectangle, and for us we want a corner radius of 25. Okay, perfect. And now what we want to do, we want to add a shadow. For the color, is gonna to be color gray, and we want a radius of 10. And yeah, on the x-axis we want it to be 0, and for the y-axis we want it to be 4. Okay, okay, perfect. And as you can see, we are getting closer to our finished app. Okay, this one. So now the next thing we want to do, now that we have this image and it's looking good, what we want to do here, we want to find a way to add this. First of all, we want to add this background. Okay, because as you can see, we have this black background. Okay, which is fading, and on top of this we have this title, this quiz, play and win, and we also have these motorcycles. Okay, so how can we add this on top of this image? Well, the best way to accomplish this result is to add this overlay. Okay, the same way we did for this guy. So what we want to do, we want to come here and add an overlay, and here for the content of our overlay, what we want to do, we want to do the same thing we did here. Okay, but here what we want, we don't want this, we still want a gradient color. Okay, but we don't want the same orientation. Okay, so what we can do, we can simply copy this. Okay, and we can paste it inside this card view. Okay, so let me simply paste it here, and now we have to change this name. So here is gonna to be card view title. Yeah, of course you can give it better name. Okay, because I think yeah, I'm just lazy. Okay, I don't want to think of a better name, but yeah, of course you can think of a better name here. Okay, so yeah, what we want, we typically want the same thing. Okay, but for starting point, we don't want this to start from the top, but what we want it to start from this leading, and we want it to end to the trailing. Okay, to the trailer. Okay, so what we are saying is, first of all, let me put this. So let me copy this and put it here, and for the name, for now, let's simply add test. And normally we are supposed to see something. Okay, perfect. And as you can see, we are seeing this. Okay, so here what we are doing, and we actually explained everything in the previous video, but I will explain it again. So what we are doing, we are saying, okay, Yeah, we want to add a background, okay? And yeah, what we are saying is we want this linear gradient, okay? And we want to start from this leading. So actually now it's starting from here, okay? So from this leading, so from the beginning, and it goes all the way to this endpoint, okay, to the trailing, okay. So this is why right now we have this at the end, okay, but of course we don't want this at the end. Why? Simply because on the finish app, as you can see, this start from the beginning, okay. So what we actually do, what we can actually do, let's try to change this. So let's try this starting point from trailing and the end point leading, and normally it's supposed to come all the way here, okay. And I think this even looks better than the finish app, okay, because on the finish app this one was, I think it was too dark, okay, but I think this one looks much better than what we have on the finish app. So I think we keep this, okay. And now the next thing we want to do, yeah, we want to add more than simple one text, okay. So here what we can do, instead of simply having this text, what we can do, we can add a V stack, okay? And for this V stack, we want an alignment of that leading. And we also want a spacing of 10. And now for this content, what we can do, first of all, we can remove this. So let me create another V stack up here. So V stack. And now inside this vista, we want this on alignment and spacing. So we can cut this and put it here. Okay, perfect. And now we can delete this. Okay, so now inside this vista, what we want to do, we want to cut this and put it inside of vista. Okay. And here, on top of this, oops, here we have a typo. So here is leading. So here, on top of this text, what we want another text. And here for the name, we will simply put quiz. And we want another text. So here we can copy this, put it here. And now, instead of quiz, we want play and win. And here, as you can see, we have this quiz and we also have this play and win, okay? And everything is looking good, okay? But I'm thinking about something, okay? Because here, we are duplicating this code, okay? Because what is the difference between this, okay, and what we have inside this, okay? Because these two are pretty similar, okay? The only difference we have is this starting point and also this end point, okay? So what we can actually do, let's create a view, okay, when we'll simply put this on gradient view, okay, and we can simply pass this start and end point, okay. So let's do that. So here, what we want to do, we want to create a new view or a new stroke, and let's call it my gradient view. Okay, perfect. And now inside this, what we want to do, we can come here and copy this, okay, and paste it here. And for now, let's just copy this, okay. And if we come here, we can simply comment out this part and put our view. And let's see if everything is working on a preview. And as you can see, everything is working fine, okay. So now that we know everything is working fine, what we can do, we can simply remove this. And yeah, what we want to do, as we said, the only thing we want to change is this starting point, okay. So yeah, let us declare something. So yeah, what we want to declare this let, and we want to let's call it start point. So let's start point, and for the type, it's gonna to be of type unit point, and we want to do the same thing for this endpoint. So we can copy this and put it here. And now what we want to do, we simply want to copy this, and instead of hard coding this top, we can paste this guy, okay. And we can actually copy this and provide this as a default value. And we can do the same thing for the endpoint. So we copy this, put it here. We can cut this and put it here. Okay, perfect. And normally our previews should still be the same thing, okay? And everything is still working perfectly. So now that we have this, what we can do, we can copy this, okay? And yeah, instead of duplicating this code, what we can do, we can simply paste this. And yeah, we want to pass a starting point, so start point, and we can set it to that leading, okay? And let's see. And here we have an error, okay? So let's see. So let's go back up here. And here, instead of setting this, okay, to this default value, let's remove this. Now that we know that everything is working, so let's remove this. And what we can do, we can go back here. And now, I think our error should be gone. Okay, we are missing this endpoint. So here we can provide the endpoint. And of course, here is going to be that leading, okay? Okay, perfect. And now we are supposed to have another arrow up here. So here we also need to provide this start point and end point, okay? And as we know, the start point here is top, so from top, and the end point is that bottom. And normally everything is supposed to still be working. And as you can see, we have this on error. So let's go back down here. And I think we forgot to comment out this, so let's do that. And yeah, let's comment out this. Actually, let's check. So yeah, for the starting point, we want this to be trailing, so we can copy this and put it here. And for the end point, we want it to be leading. So now let's comment out this and let's see. Okay, and as you can see, everything is still working perfectly. Okay, so now we can remove this, and our code is much cleaner now. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to actually start styling this quiz and play and win. Okay, because as you can see here on the finish app, these two are bigger. Okay, so what we can do, we can simply come and copy everything we have here, okay, and put it here. And here, of course, for this quiz, we want a bigger size. So let's say maybe, I don't know, maybe 60. Oh, that's too big, so 40. Okay, perfect. And for this play and win, what we can do, we can practically do the same thing. So here we can copy this and do the same thing here and paste it here, okay? But here, instead of bold, we don't want this. We simply want this American typewriter, okay? And here we also want to reduce the size, okay? So here, instead of 40, it's gonna to be 60, okay? And as you can see, everything is looking good, everything is looking nice, okay? And we are getting closer to a finish up, okay? Except for one thing. Here, as you can see, we are duplicating this code, okay? Because as you can see, we apply the same style over and over, okay? So maybe that's a sign that we have to actually wrap this, okay, into something that we can reuse, okay? And that's actually what we will see in the next video, okay? Because I don't want this video to get too long, okay? So I know we said that we wanted to do this too, but I think this video is getting long enough. So what we will actually do, we will wrap up right now, and the next video we will see how we can wrap this, okay, into something that we can reuse over and over, okay? Because as you notice, we still have this kind of same text over and over, okay, inside our app, okay? And we don't want to copy this over and over, okay? Simply because if tomorrow we decide to use, for example, a different font, we want to be able to simply change this into a single place, okay? And then the whole app should reflect a change, okay? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video where we will actually finish this, okay? And as we said, we'll see how we can improve our code, okay? So take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.